welcome. I'm Yvonne, and here's what happened this week. Hopes for a joint presidential bid between Taiwan's two main opposition parties have come to a dramatic end. Wen-je of the Taiwan People's Party registered on a solo ticket on Friday. Joyce Tseng reports.
The recent chaos in Taiwan's local politics has all boiled down to this. The two main opposition parties will not form a joint ticket to go after the presidency in January's pivotal elections. Former Taipei Mayor Wen-je from the Taiwan People's Party, or TPP, has just registered his bid in a single-party ticket, right on the day of the Election Commission deadline. He's pulled in U.S.-born Wu Xingying, or Cynthia Wu, as his running mate. She's a TPP lawmaker and former business exec, and hails from a family that runs one of Taiwan's biggest insurance groups. The pick may come as a surprise, as the party has really not discussed an alternative to a TPP-KMT coalition up until this point. There were some rumors of a potential alliance with Foxxcon founder Terry Guo, but that also has not happened. Ke and his would-have-been alliance partner, Hou from the Kuomintang, or KMT, have both been individually polling behind the ruling Democratic Progressive Party's candidate, Ching-te. After a messy will-they-won't-they back and forth, the potential for a more China-friendly opposition coalition collapsed after a bizarre last-minute press conference the night before the registration deadline, which saw Ke and Hou openly bicker on live TV, signaling frayed internal politics over who would yield to serve as the other's vice president, and little chance for resolve. The question now is whether the very public breakdown of the opposition coalition will hurt voter confidence for both the KMT and TPP. Now, the people are the ones to win over here, as Taiwan's top seat is secured by a first-past-the-post voting process. And with less than 2 months to go, it's crunch time for the opposition candidates to get their campaigns back on track in their own separate ways. Eason Chen and Joyce Tseng in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
While Ke and Wu were registering their ticket, the KMT revealed its nominee for vice president. Stash Butler reports from the party headquarters.
With just hours to the deadline, Hou, the presidential candidate for Taiwan's largest opposition party, the KMT, or Kuomintang, has registered for the January election alongside his pick for vice president. Media heavyweight Zhao Shaokang, a talk show host with huge influence in the party. Now, Zhao actually quit politics back in the 90s to pursue a successful media career. He explained today at the press conference why he's decided to quit that and return to politics.
但是因为现在情况真的不一样，我觉得真的是临危受命，救亡图存。我觉得国家面临到这样的情况，两岸面临这样的情况，我们的下一代面临这样的情况，真的是要救台湾，出来就是救台湾。
Now, Zhao's stepping in last minute comes after the spectacular collapse of a deal between Hou, the KMT's candidate, and another candidate, the former Taipei Mayor Wen-je of the Taiwan People's Party, a deal between them to join on one ticket to unseat the ruling Democratic Progressive Party. Now, after that deal has failed, it seems the KMT have chosen a rather different tactic. If joining with Ke was about appealing to the middle ground between the KMT and Taiwan's ruling DPP, then choosing Zhao Shaokang is about appealing to the KMT's base. He's a massive figure in the party. Like the rest of his party, favors stronger ties with China, but more broadly appeals to a KMT voter who remembers the Taiwan of 30 to 40 years ago, a time when the economy was booming, when Chinese identity was strong, and the KMT was in power. Now, that couldn't be in more stark contrast to the ruling party's candidate for Vice President Xiaobi Kim, announced just this week. She's she's just left position as Taiwan's US envoy and is seen as close to Washington. Now, Xiao and the DPP's presidential pick, Ching-te, are polling practically neck and neck with Hou and the KMT's campaign, two starkly different campaigns, both in with a chance of winning, with Taiwan's election just 7 weeks away. Luffy Li and Stash Butler in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Foxxcon founder Terry Guo did not register to run in Taiwan's upcoming presidential election. The iPhone manufacturing billionaire has been set to run as an independent. He gathered hundreds of thousands of signatures in a bid to get on the ballot. But his campaign faltered after China opened an investigation into Foxxcon, with Guo making few public appearances in recent weeks. A last-minute attempt by Guo to broker an opposition alliance also failed. For more on Taiwan's high political drama and what it means for voters, our reporter Rick Glauer spoke to local journalist Brian Hugh.
So it's been a very dramatic week in terms of the presidential race here, and everything is right up to the wire. How typical is this for Taiwan politics?
It's not as dramatic as this usually. Taiwanese politics can be dramatic, and there are last-minute, unexpected moments that happen. I mean, to quote Wen-je himself, until 5:30 p.m. on November 24th, anything is possible. And so this led to a lot of speculation about what happened, and people were prepared for unexpected turns. But I don't think people were prepared for the media spectacle that emerged yesterday night, with the candidates bickering live on television about who should be the candidate, and this kind of clash of the egos between the major candidates. That I don't think has happened before, and I think it will be remembered for a long time to come in Taiwanese politics.
And with the opposition candidates failing to unite against the front-runner Lai and for the DPP, what do you think this means for the presidential race?
For one, that means the fundamental dynamics of the race remain unchanged. Lai is still in an advantageous position to win as long as he does not miscalculate or stumble in some way. And so the Pan-Blue camp has continued to remain divided in spite of polls showing that if they came together, they would stand a strong chance of overturning Lai. And so that points to these continued splits within the Pan-Blue camp that are very deep, that they can't come together, and they will continue to fight about anything and everything. I think the media spectacle that emerged, it's quite interesting because it reflects the trends in the past few years, where you have these very kind of politically incorrect or frank-talking politicians. And in certain venues, that works very well to draw and rile up a crowd. But when it comes to maybe establishment politics, it doesn't work out.
There was truly extraordinary scenes unfolding live on TV from all these major opposition candidates. Could you tell us, how was it received in Taiwan? What do the Taiwan voting public think about this?
So particularly as we see the kind of rise of streaming and as it becomes faster and faster to post random content online, videotaped content, this is affecting politics in a way that's quite interesting. I mean, for one, it is a spectacle, a media spectacle. That's always been the case, even before the rise of social media. But then I think now this demand for example, transparency has kind of interfaced with politics in a very interesting way where it can become spectacle. I mean, for example, the candidates yesterday were fighting over that they all wanted, as they all claimed, fair and transparent elections, have this process be very open. And the question was whether they would negotiate secretly behind the doors or not. And that's another kind of contention between them. And so then that this could play out publicly in real time as candidates are not having a closed-door meeting to hash out details, but in a very public way while they're trying to perform for the public and grandstand and to come off into a superior position compared to their opponents. That kind of played itself out in the public in a very open way.
That was local journalist Brian Hughes speaking to our reporter Rick Glauer about Taiwan's recent political drama. Taiwan's health ministry is promising to lower the nurse-to-patient ratio in hospitals. A heavy patient load is one reason many nurses are quitting. But a solution won't come cheap. As Sally Jensen reports, there is still no agreement on how to actually get a job done.
Lately, when Taiwan's nurses haven't been caring for patients, they've been on the streets protesting work conditions. The stress of the job got so bad during COVID-19 years that many of their colleagues quit. And those who've stayed on say they're more burnt out than ever. Taiwan's nurses don't have quite as heavy a workload as their peers in some other countries, but it's still the norm for a nurse here to be caring for over a dozen patients at once.
因为他们只在乎他们的人事成本，他们只在乎他们有没有赚钱。你这样子危害病人的一个安全，然后危害我们的职业安全的时候，我们当然会觉得这是我们无法忍受的事情。
But the government's now pledging to change the situation.
护理团体代表跟护师工会代表是达成共识，希望明年开始推动的时候，用目前可行的标准来订定。
The Health Ministry has set a deadline for the end of the year to find a solution, but it may not be that simple. Hospitals also have to agree, and different hospitals have different ideas. Right now, there are 7 different proposals that need to be hammered into one by the year's end. And there's another problem. In addition to the cost, which the government puts at over $250 million, there'll need to be a lot of new nurses, around 8,000. New nurses are most attracted to high-paying urban hospitals. Rural hospitals, already understaffed, worry about how they'll get the staff they need.
这些山地、离岛、偏远地区，马上面临到招不到人，就会关床的这个窘境。那关床以后，当地的医疗就会造成很大的困扰。
All these are issues that need a quick resolution if the government's timetable of next year is to go ahead. Dolphine Chen, John Van Trieste and Sally Ensign for TaiwanPlus.
The newly completed Taipei Dome has opened its doors to the public with a baseball game attended by a crowd of 13,000 people. Leslie Liao was one of them.
"13,000 baseball fans eagerly watch a game at the Taipei Dome. This has been a moment 30 years in the making. Talks to build a sports dome began back in 1991. Now the venue is finally complete and hosting its first public baseball game. But even as people are let into the dome, concerns have loomed over its usability. Before this public game, the venue staged 2 closed-door games to test it out. One coach pointed out a potential safety hazard.
他那个铁柱子离选手太近，怕如果选手去冲去跑去接外球，有可能会撞到那个柱子。
Those metal posts hold up nets that prevent hard-hit balls from hitting spectators in the seats. But there's also concern that players in the field can run into them and get injured. Baseball enthusiasts also have misgivings about the overall color scheme. The dome seats are black and white, and there's concern that fielders might lose sight of fly balls among the similarly colored seats. And for balls that are hit higher up in the air, well, the checkered roof and bright lights of the dome might also be a problem. But it seems that after the game, players, coaches, and experts alike seem to agree the dome's seats and lights are not a deal breaker.
可能观众坐了以后，就座椅的问题应该就解决了。昨天练习跟今天比赛看起来大家都还 OK， 并没有会被吃掉的感觉。
其实现在也是可以接受，只是说如果未来有办法去上一点颜色，我觉得就是同一个颜色可能会比较好。我们选手可能看球什么话会比较不被影响到。
A lot of times when we go to a new stadium and new venue, we got to play a few more games to get used to it.
The game here is a trial run to test not just the baseball field, but also fan facilities. While 13,000 fans came in this time, the building can seat up to 40,000. That's double the capacity of New York's Madison Square Garden. The building occupies a busy part of Taipei, and the crowds leaving the venue after major events might be an issue. Taipei Mayor Jiang Wan-an arrived early on the day to make sure capacity and crowd control measures were in place.
其实来到大巨蛋这边搭乘捷运以及公共运输工具是非常的方便，所以这个部分我们也希望在观赏完比赛之后的离场，大家也能够依照我们相关人员的导引。
The subway station closest to Taipei Dome was all hands on deck hours ahead of the game to prepare for big crowds. But there were no major snags vacating the venue as spectators started leaving early before the game finished. After 3 decades of waiting, the public finally got a chance to experience Taipei Dome. Though more time will be needed to fully iron out its wrinkles, it seems that fans, city officials, and venue organizers can breathe easy knowing its debut so far has covered all the bases. Patrick Chen and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching Here's What Happened. For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, you can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow us on social media. Finally, check out this light exhibit at New York's Queens Botanical Garden. I'm Yvonne. Take care, and I'll see you next time.